Hello, everyone, and welcome to this specialist trading educational presentation. Now, I'm really excited to announce this new course that we're going to be having, and this is the new Elite Stock Trading College. This is for 2022. Now, we were in the past giving these colleges roughly every year, but we haven't had a stock trading college in roughly 4 years now. So we're going to be giving you some new information and new insights on how to trade stocks if you've been having difficulty. For example, let's look at this chart here. Here's an older chart of Costco going back to the summer. And what we're going to be teaching you in the course are ways in which to identify a high probability setup. This is a particular strategy that you'll be learning, and you'll find out when a signal has been generated. Just looking at these last 6 bars, you would have identified a valid signal right here to buy. But then after that, we're going to share with you a way to filter out some of the good from the bad setups, and you would have been confirmed to take this trade and to actually buy. Now, had you actually bought Costco there, well, potentially you could have made 68 points to the upside. Now, let's say you actually bought it and you got out a little bit too early, or maybe you had never taken the signal and you wanted to get in. Well, we're going to teach you ways in which to enter all the way to the upside, different ways of entry. And on top of that, you're going to be able to learn how to apply stops while it's going all the way up. So these are new features we've never discussed before in our college, and everything we're going to be teaching you, you'll learn all the rules to as well. It will be one click away on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform that actually teaches you how to trade stocks. So as you can see, this is really exciting. This is the brand new stock college for 2022. And thanks for joining us again. Once again, my name is Steven Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. And I believe the last time we gave a stock college course was in 2018. So roughly about 4 years ago, just starting in the next couple of months there. So this is going to be really a lot of great insight and new information. Everything that we're going to be teaching you, I learned myself on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange some 45 years ago when I was trading on the floor there. So these things have stood the test of time. They have high levels of consistency, and they're very, very simple to apply. You're going to learn how to apply all of them. You're going to see what the best fit is for your particular style of trading. And we'll give you roughly 5 weeks of live trading with yours truly, so that you can ask me any questions. You can actually, get involved and be a part of the process with learning. This won't be a type of a video presentation. It will actually be live training via the internet. So this is going to be a great, great course. Now, before we begin, I'll tell you what's exactly involved in what we're going to be trading with. Let's take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results today by applying what's going to be in the course. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, I'd like to begin by sharing with you what I learned on the stock exchange floor, because everything I'm going to be teaching you in this course is taken from my days on the floor of the stock exchange. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist making markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. Now, I really struggled tremendously my first year or two, probably doing the same things many of you are doing, looking at all the financial news that's supposed to be able to tell you what to do, right? Or listening to some guru telling you what he thought the market was going to do. And I had a very difficult time. In fact, I really didn't make any money for my first year or two trading. And I was lucky enough to have some mentors that turned my trading around. And here's one of the first things they taught me about being a successful trader. They said, Steve, here's what successful trading really is. Successful trading should be non-subjective. Now, what does that mean? Well, how many times have you gone to a webinar, or you've purchased a course or tried to trade something, and the rules are just very nebulous? It's like, well, if it feels like it's going up, then buy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a webinar and I've seen so-called educators talking the same way, saying, well, see right here, here's what you would have bought and here's where you would have sold. And you think to yourself, well, how would I have known that? I mean, what's that based on? You see, too many so-called educators base their techniques on subjectivity. Now, sure, they know the answer because it's something that's really akin to their style of trading, but it's very difficult to teach. In order to teach someone how to be consistent, the rules have to be very black and white. They have to be very precise with no room for subjectivity on the educator's part. So everything that I'm going to be teaching you is very non-discretionary. It's very black and white. You'll know exactly by looking at a chart whether you should be a buyer or a seller. You'll know exactly by studying the rules whether a signal has been generated or not. It's that simple. That's why trading has been so difficult for you in the past, because most of the things you're learning are extremely subjective. Secondly, successful trading should be consistent. I know all of you are saying, well, yeah, that goes without saying, right? I mean, I want to have a lot of winners, but that's not what consistent means. Consistency means that there is an awareness that you will have losses. I know that a lot of you are thinking, what? That I will have losses? I thought we're not supposed to be losing. I've been losing for too long. I don't want to lose anymore. Well, there's nothing wrong with losing. Everyone loses. I don't care if someone tells you they're a master trader, they lose every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. Just as there's nothing wrong with a great skier who's skiing down the slopes falling down every once in a while. Or nothing wrong with any athlete missing a shot or not hitting the ball every once in a while, striking out. What you should be afraid of is a method that goes into a large sustained number of losses, okay? That is not a consistent method. A consistent method is aware that you will have losses every once in a while, but it's able to either filter them out with some other tool or limit its losses so that on the very next setup or so, you're able to recoup that loss. That's what consistency means. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So everything I'll be teaching you in the stock college is extremely, extremely consistent. Next, successful trading should be as simple as possible. I remember when I was first struggling on the floor, I did probably the same thing many of you have done and spent exorbitant amount of money and just, money that I didn't have at the time, searching for the Holy Grail, right? I remember once I was struggling so much, I bought this, at the time, a very expensive amount of money for me, a $5,000 system that was supposed to be phenomenal, that had gone back 20 years, that never lost money, and it was supposed to make so much money for you. And I remember trying to learn it once I had paid the $5,000 already, and I didn't understand one thing. Why? Because it was so overcomplicated. There were so many rules and requirements I had to meet in order for a signal to be generated. There's so many indicators I had to have on my screen. There's so many scenarios that had to be met in order for a signal just to be generated. It was just so cumbersome. And I don't understand how anyone could have traded this. Sure, on paper, it looked great, but it was just too difficult to trade. It was just so overcomplicated. I'm happy to say that everything I will be teaching you in our course is extremely simple. I mean, some of the things are automatically presented for you and displayed on our platform, but you'll learn why and know exactly how to apply them. Many of these have maybe 2, 3, 4 rules tops. That's it. And they're very, very easy to understand. Now, lastly, and most importantly, what my mentors taught me is that successful trading should make you a part of the process. This is the most important aspect here. The reason why most traders fail is because you are not a part of the process. You are taking yourself out of the game. How many times do you make a decision based off of something you heard on TV or what some so-called stock guru said was a buy or a sell? Or how many times have you heard a news event come out or an earnings report or an economic announcement come out and you said, okay, well, that's supposed to be positive, so I guess I should buy. And then it doesn't work out, right? That's because you're not a part of the process. What you're doing is you're giving your power away. I'm not trying to be arrogant here because I did the exact same thing. And that's why I struggled so much 4 decades ago, because I was doing the same thing. I was giving my power away by listening to so-called gurus, relying so much on earnings reports and economic announcements. And it couldn't make me really a consistent trader. Sure, every once in a while it would work, but most likely a week or 2 later, I'd give it all back based on the same information. The reason is because I wasn't a part of the process. I wasn't relying on what I had learned. I was simply letting someone else or something else make the decision for me. That's a recipe for disaster. You have to be a part of the process. And we'll teach you that in our courses, because most of our techniques have upwards of 6 or 7 different ways to enter. 6 or 7 different ways to exit, and 6 or 7 different ways to place your stop. See, the beauty of that is that it's almost like a buffet table for you to choose what makes you feel the most comfortable. Now, someone who doesn't like to take a lot of risk is not going to take the same stop level as someone who likes to take a lot of risk, and vice versa. You should be a part of the process and be able to pick the places of entry, exit, and stop placement that make you feel comfortable. That's the only way, in my opinion, from what I've observed in the last 4 decades, that's the only way you will become a consistent trader. And this is what we're going to emphasize in the college as well. So this is why we formulated the new stock trading college for 2022. We know that the market is making new highs. We know that everything seems to be going up. So why are so many traders failing? It's because their methods are faulty. And it's also because they're being taught things that have no levels of consistency. It doesn't mean that you don't have enough experience or don't have enough money in your account or haven't been trading long enough. That doesn't make any difference. It really doesn't. What really matters is that you are part of the process and putting yourself in the game by applying things that have stood the test of time. And these are the things we'll be teaching you in the new Elite Stock Trading College for 2022. So let's go over the curriculum and what we'll be teaching you in this 5-week course, okay? Now, week 1, extremely important because we're going to cover the foundation and the building blocks of stock trading. In this week, we really talk about the concepts and philosophy behind our style of teaching, because really it's different from most things you've taken before, most strategies or most books you've read or most courses you've taken, because it doesn't rely on conventional wisdom, the things that we've been taught, the same things I was taught 4 decades ago. And remember, I always say, but it's true, the same things you're basing your trading on are the same things I based my trading on over 4 decades ago. And remember, I couldn't make a dime using them. So why do you think they're going to start automatically working right now? There's no levels of consistency in them. But when you base your decisions on market behavior, on what the actual screen in front of you is telling you, that's when you start to become consistent. So these are the foundations and building blocks of what we teach in the Stock College. That'll be covered in week number 1. In week number 2, we'll take it up a notch with our dynamic duo. Now, you've heard me speak about the dynamic duo before, but for those of you who aren't familiar with that, it is 2 of our most popular as well as consistent methods packed together, all right? Used in unison because they have a high level of consistency. And when they use together, they actually form this synergy for success, all right? This is our dynamic duo. It's probably one of our most popular packages we have at Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's made up of these 2 methods. The first method is strategy number 4. Now, this was the first method my mentors taught me when I was struggling 4 decades ago. This is what turned my trading around. It's a pattern recognition-based strategy. That means it's based on a pattern that repeats itself over and over and over again. So a lot of signals are generated with this particular method. It's designed to capture momentum. It's looking for momentum either to the upside or to the downside. The beauty of this is that it will generate signals oftentimes before there is any even clue of any momentum. So you will see oftentimes a signal generated in a flat market, in a sideways market, or even going the opposite direction. That's the beauty of strategy number 4. And I continue to trade this in my own personal trading to this day, all right? So let me give you 2 of the setup rules for this. Now, the strategy has roughly about 4 rules based off this pattern. I'm just going to share with you these simple setup rules, but they're extremely important. Once again, they go into the foundation and the building blocks of what we teach. What you want to do with strategy number 4 is look for a bar that closes in the top or bottom 25% of its range. So what exactly does that mean? All right. Remember, this is just one piece of the puzzle to the rules. But what you want to see is that a bar like this, it doesn't matter if you're an intraday trader of stocks or you trade weekly bars, monthly bars, or daily bars. If you close in the top quarter, the top 25%, that's the stock. Not me, not some guy on TV, not some guy in a chat room. That is the stock, the very thing you're trading, telling you wants to go higher, indication to buy. Now, conversely, if whatever you're trading, whatever time frame, it closes in the bottom 25%, that's an indication to sell. This is coming directly from what you're trading, not from me, not from some guy on TV. So this is a tremendous edge to have. Now remember, this is just one piece of the puzzle. You also have to incorporate all the other rules for it to really fully make sense. But I'm sharing with you, and you'll see this right now in a couple of examples. As we look here at this example in GGPI, okay? This was just a little over a week ago. Now, I'm just looking at 5 bars. That's all we're looking at. There's really nothing to tell here, right? In fact, you would say, Steve, there's no momentum at all. Why would I be interested in this stock? You know, it's an inexpensive stock, but why would I be interested in it? This could go sideways for the next month. Well, the funny thing is that we not only have 1, but we have 2 bars that closed in the top 25% of their range. So the market's kind of given us a clue it wants to go higher. Now, obviously, there are also bars that close in the bottom. But because of the rules, which I'm not going to divulge right now, they wouldn't apply. So we want to apply all of these rules to make sure that we fully generate a buy signal. And the first example did not meet the requirements. But guess what? The second one did. So a valid strategy number 4 buy signal was generated on the 5th in this particular stock. And look what happened in just 6 days. The price skyrocketed 40%. Now, that's an inexpensive stock. So you could have purchased a number of shares. It would have been a nice little gain in just about a week, right? 40%. Now, let's look at this other example here. This is in DraftKings. Most traders would say, hey, Steve, I like the chat room I go to. They give me some good ideas. And that guy in the chat room said this was major support. This is where the institutions were buying. And look what happened. The momentum is up. It obviously bounced off that support. We've got the beginning of a nice rally here. I want to jump in and buy this, okay? This is the way most traders make their decisions. And this is, in my opinion, why most traders fail. Because you're listening to outside sources tell you what the market's going to do. But what is the actual market telling us? Well, just looking at one of the rules, what do we have here? This particular bar closed in the bottom 25%. So did this one, but only with this one is valid to generate an actual sell signal. Now, where everyone else was buying, thinking a bottom was right here, you're doing something else. You're not listening to conventional wisdom. You're only listening to the market. And the market is telling you, I want to go lower. So you could have sold there at the end of October and potentially made 10 points, okay, coming into November here. And what happened to the support? What happened to the upward momentum? Do you see how strategy number 4, while the stock gapped higher, was already telling you the momentum is not to the upside. The momentum is actually to the downside. And remember we talked about consistency? I'm sure right now you're saying, hey, this is pretty consistent. These things really have a lot of profitable trades. Remember, that's not what consistency means. Consistency means an awareness of losses from time to time, okay? For example, we see here in Microsoft, this was a valid sell signal, closed in the bottom 25%. The strategy generated a valid sell signal on our platform. There's a red arrow over the bar, so it's a valid signal to go short. Let's say you took that, maybe you bought the puts, whatever, and look what happened. Didn't work out. So sure, there are losses from time to time, but here's the good news. There are also ways to filter out some of those losses so that you can have a higher level of consistency. This brings us to the second method in the dynamic duo, which is the PET-D. Now, the PET-D is another tool I learned to use and to calculate from my days on the floor some 4 decades ago. It was a calculation, we used to call it the formula, because it was a calculation that we had to calculate almost on a tick-by-tick basis. It was very difficult to do and very cumbersome. The good news is that we've made it into a proprietary color bar algorithm. We've taken all the hard work out of it for you so that it automatically colors the bars either green or red. And what it does is it translates what the market wants to do. So we call it a translator for any market, any direction, and any time frame, because it's literally translating what the market wants to do. I mean, what a tremendous edge to have, right? Remember, the fault in most traders, excuse me, is that they're listening to what someone or something else is telling them. But now you can actually listen to what the market wants to do. For example, as we look at this older generic chart here, obviously in hindsight, someone would say, well, Steve, yeah, we're in an uptrend. You should buy this. And look what happened. Okay, what happened to the uptrend? What if something could have told us, well, that's not what I want to do. I want to kind of change trends here. Excuse me. Well, when you apply the translator, the PET D, you would have seen that well in advance, the bars were green, telling you it wanted to go higher. And well in advance of making new lows, it was already telling you it wanted to go lower. So as it says, the beauty of the PET D is that it tells you which direction you should be trading. And once you know the trend, you can apply any strategy to that direction. So how is the PET D going to help us and make up the second half of our dynamic duo? Well, when we get a buy signal, a strategy number 4 buy signal, we want to make sure that the bar above the green arrow is also colored green by the PET D. And if we get a sell signal, we also want to make sure that the bar below the red arrow is colored red. That makes a valid dynamic duo setup. So let's look at this example here in ORLY. Once again, looking at this saying there's absolutely no momentum, nothing's going on here. But let's go through the process of what we'll teach you. Remember, you're going to learn the rules to all this, but let's just go and say that you've already studied the course material and you're saying to yourself, I think I know how to identify a valid buy setup, and I see one right here. Now, since I can't sit next to you 24/7 and tell you if you're right or wrong, we've developed a way to check your work, and that's on the platform. So on the platform, you would click on strategy number 4 in the green strategy tab. And in the drop-down arrow, you would click on signals. And guess what? You're right. There was a signal there. So for the first time, you are becoming a part of the process. You're identifying a buy signal. Not some guy in a chat room, not some guy on TV. You're in charge of your own trading. Now, in order to take that setup to the next level, you want to apply the second portion of the dynamic duo, which is the PET D. Remember, if this is a valid PET D high probability setup, you want to see that bar above the green arrow colored green. So let's see what happened. Click on PET D, and guess what? It is green. Now the 3 bars prior to that are red, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't care what the other bars are colored. All we're interested in is the color of the bar above the green arrow. So 55 points in the next week or two. Not a bad little trade, right? That's a valid dynamic duo setup, which you'll learn all about in the college. Now, remember that chart I showed you earlier, the one that didn't work out in Microsoft? Okay, let's go through the process again and how the dynamic duo could have really helped you. We're looking here and you say to yourself, okay, I've studied the course material. I think I see a sell signal according to the rules that I've been taught. Check your work, click on strategy 4. In the drop-down menu, click on arrows. And you're right, that is a sell signal. It automatically comes up on your screen. So you're feeling good about yourself. You're saying, wow, I'm starting to make the setups on my own here. I don't have to, pay that service or watch that guy on TV anymore. I have a better idea of what the market's doing. But in order to take it to the next level with a dynamic duo, we want to make sure that that bar below the arrow is colored red, because that will be a valid dynamic duo sell setup, a high probability sell setup. So in order to check, we click on the PET D. And what's the color of the bar? It's green. Even though it's a down day, well, these were down days too, it's still colored green. So this is a down day, but the market's telling you, I want to go higher. So because it's not colored red, we're not going to take that signal. And because you didn't take that signal, you did not have a losing trade. See how powerful the dynamic duo is? It's so simple and so powerful, but more importantly, you're in charge of your own trading for the very first time. That will be taught in detail in week number 2. Week number 3, we talk about something that only has to do with entries. The reason is because many of our prospective students tell us, they say, Steve, well, I'm not sure if I want to be a member of specialist trading because my strategy works pretty good. It's just that I have problems with my entries. Either I get in too early, I get in too late, or maybe my strategy generates a signal and gets me out, and then I don't know how to get back in because it just keeps going up. So for this reason, we formulated steps 1 and steps 2. The reason why there are 2 of them is because there are only 2 types of entry. In fact, steps actually stands for short-term entry points. Now, I know you may think there's lots of different styles of entry and lots of different ways to get into a trade, but there are actually only two. The first one is called a continuation entry. And that's when the market is going in a strong trend, either up or down. And this is built for traders who like to buy all the way up or sell all the way down. Now, you have to have a certain type of nature to want to trade that way. Now, when I was first starting to trade, it was a very difficult concept for me. I didn't like to trade that way, but many traders love to trade that way. So steps number one only has to do with applying continuation entries. Now, the other type of entry is called a pullback entry. This is where you have an established trend, and then there's a little sell-off. Okay, this is where most traders think the trend has ended. But if it meets all the pullback requirements, it's actually a perfect place to buy at a lower level before the trend resumes on its upward slope. Same thing works to the downside. Now, pullback entries are perfect, and they apply to steps number two. So this is what we're going to be going into detail. We've never taught this in our college before, and this is going to be a way, if you feel that you have something that works, or if you like to develop your own strategy and just need a way to enter, or if your strategy is already doing okay, but you just want to highlight it a little bit more, this is a great, great way to increase your odds with entries. We'll cover that in detail in week 3. Now, in week 4, we're going to do something we did the last time we had the college, which was 4 years ago. We had such great testimonials about it. We're going to bring it back again. And week 4, we'll deal with options trading. And the reason why so many people like this is because our premier option trader at Pro Trader Strategy, Eric Wilkinson, will be conducting the class on that particular week. Now, just to give you a little background about Eric, first of all, his nickname is Wolfman. So Eric the Wolfman Wilkinson is a veteran floor trader. And he's been trading, financial futures, commodity stocks, stock indices, and options on a variety of products for many years. And many times you've been able to see him on CNBC or Fox Business News or other financial networks. So he's the premier options trader for Pro Trader Strategies. He'll have the whole class with you, week number 4, a live class teaching you how to apply options to the things I've already taught you. It's a great class. We had rave reviews on it last 4 years ago when we had him on, and we're going to be doing it once again. That will be covered in detail, option trading with Eric, on week number 4. Now, on the 4th and final week, we'll put everything together. Any final live questions you're interested in asking, we'll cover that, and maybe ways to formulate a particular plan for you. But more than that, we're going to present something that we haven't talked about before. In fact, this is a brand new feature that we just introduced to the public roughly about 2 or 3 months ago. These are our dynamic stops, okay? This is something you won't find anywhere else. Many times, stops are based off of patterns. They're based off of actual bar charts, or also based off of a higher time frame going down to a lower time frame. This is based, once again, only on market behavior. For example, as we look at this recent chart in Tesla, okay, been going straight up. Let's say you were lucky enough to get long somewhere down here. Maybe you bought the calls, maybe you bought 1 or 2 shares or whatever, and you're feeling really good about yourself. You have a really nice profit, but then this happens, okay? And you've lost 1/3 to almost 1/2 of your gains. How could you have protected them? This is the beauty of the dynamic stops. On our platform, as you see right here, you would just simply click them on, and it would automatically appear. On the screen here, you see these levels are where you should place your stop. And once a new one is created, you would cancel that one and just move it up, cancel this one and move it up. And then ultimately, you would have been stopped out right here, but you would have captured all of this. And traders would have avoided losing an extra 135 points. So that's the beauty of using our new dynamic stop feature. And once again, we have never taught this in any of our colleges before. This is another brand new feature that we'll be talking about specifically for the people in the college. Now, this works to the downside as well. Here's a 30-minute chart of Peloton. Okay, we've all been seeing this stock go straight down lately. Let's say you had intraday traded this, gotten a short signal. In fact, this is a strategy number 4, sell signal. And you didn't know where or how long to hold this. You wanted to hold it a little bit longer. So you apply the dynamic stops. And these green lines now tell you where to cover the trade. And look how you could have captured all this profit simply by staying short, or maybe you had the puts. Either way, these are really great features to have with any trading market, regardless if it's intraday or daily. or even weekly or monthly. You can use this on any market, any time frame. Now, these methods work best with stocks, as you'll see in the stock college. But guess what? We know that not everyone just trades stocks. Some people like to trade stocks and futures. Others trade stocks and currency pairs, or they dabble a little bit with cryptos. So the good news is that they can easily transfer over onto these other markets like ETFs, futures, forex, commodities, and cryptos. For example, as we see here, here is a chart in the dollar yen, all right, a daily chart. Now, obviously, it's been going up in hindsight. Now, one of the techniques I'll teach you in the course is just specifically applied by using the PET-D. So as you apply the PET-D, you see that all the bars were green. In fact, it was signaling an uptrend well in advance. And look how when the market sold off, all the bars remained green. So this is one of the techniques I'll be teaching you on how to stay into these long trends by applying the PET-D. But let's say you wanted to apply strategy 4. Okay, well, 2 buy signals were generated using strategy number 4. How about this example in Bitcoin? Okay, this is a 4-hour chart. Just going back a couple of days ago, a sell signal was generated on a 4-hour chart. If you wanted to make sure it was a high probability dynamic duo setup, apply the PET-D, and guess what? It's colored red, so you feel comfortable about selling. Maybe you have a position and you just want to use this to exit. Either way, Bitcoin went down thousands of points coming into the last couple of days here. And then lastly, how about commodities? Anyone trade commodities out there? This is a weekly chart of coffee. As you can see here, going all the way back to April. Coffee has been going straight up. As we apply some of our techniques, we see that steps generated signals all the way up. Remember, steps is based on continuation entries as well as pullback. Now, this is steps 1 because as we are in a strong uptrend, let's say you wanted a way to get into this, but you didn't know how. Your strategy wasn't generating buy signals. This is the beauty of steps. It generates these high probability entry points along the way. Now, how would you protect this trade? By simply adding the dynamic stops. Here you have on the bottom here, the stops as they continue to rise and lock in profits all the way up. And this is a current chart coming into this last week. So it really doesn't matter what market you're trading. They can easily be applied to other markets, other time frames. Now, if you go to our websites, either mine, specialisttrading.com, or Pro Trader Strategies, my sister site, you'll see tons of testimonials on people who have taken past college courses with us and done very well. And it doesn't matter. Some of these students have been trading for just a few weeks. Others have been trading for a few years. But we also have students and members of the college that have been trading for years. In fact, this was a hedge fund testimonial from a hedge fund trader who'd been trading for 25 years, how it really helped them. So makes no difference. This is not an introductory course. It makes no difference your experience level. It makes no difference what your style of trading is. All the information presented will be able to help you increase your odds for consistency in 2022. Remember, my goal as a mentor is not to force feed you signals. I'm not here to say, well, this college is basically just doing what I do, and I like this, so I'm generating a buy signal. No, this college is based on things that have stood the test of time, things that I use in my own personal trading, but they're really designed to put you in control. I want to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. When I was struggling 44 years ago, this edge turned my trading around. And that's what I'd like to do for you. If you're having difficulty with your stock trading, I strongly feel that the college will be able to turn your trading around and hopefully make you a consistent trader. So here's how to take advantage of this, all right? This is the Elite Stock Trading College weekly live detailed instruction, proprietary dynamic duo, along with the complete strategy number 4 rules. And this includes the PET-D. You're also going to get something we've never taught before, steps 1 and steps 2. These are the entry methods. We never taught them before in our college. Then week 4, our highly popular week with Eric Wilkinson. You'll learn all about option trading. If you're an option trader, if you don't actually buy stocks, don't worry. He'll show you how to apply the best option setups to these techniques. Auto-generated dynamic stop placement, all right? Another feature we've never talked about before. And on top of this, you'll get educational correspondence. Now, we know that You've seen everything the last 30, 40 minutes on the platform. So guess what? We're going to throw in a full year, 12 months of the PTS Primo charting platform for free so that you can get instant access by one click on your mouse and see the setups and all of the different features right there on the platform. Now, just think, if you had the platform and if you already were a member of the college, this is what you could have noticed this past couple of weeks. You're going to have access to scanning for these features as well. So let's say you scanned and you were interested in the stock PROG, okay? So you scanned and guess what? There was a buy signal, a valid buy signal on the night of the 15th. In order to take this trade, you say, well, I want to make sure that it's a valid PET D setup. So you click on the PET D and guess what? It's outlined green. So this is a valid high probability PET D setup. Now this just happened on the 15th, which I believe was Monday. You could have purchased this Monday and guess what? I took this chart just an hour or so before we began, but the price of PROG gained 80% in just 2 days, 80% gain. So this is the beauty of what we'll be teaching you. This is not something where you look back and you say, guys, these were great signals, but they're 2 years old, okay? Most of the things we're going to be sharing with you happened within the last couple of weeks, month, or maybe in the last couple of hours we'll be sharing with you. And you'll be able to see them all over the place. So this really is something that's going to help you, in my opinion. A year from today, you will have wished you became a member of the Stock College course for 2022. You can't keep on doing the same things you've been doing for years and expect to get different results. It's just not going to happen. I did that for 2 years, and I almost really lost my job because I wasn't producing any profits. It wasn't until I started to learn these same techniques that I'll be teaching you that my trading started to turn around. So invest in yourself. Take advantage of this great offer, which we have for you, okay? Remember, the live classes are going to be starting soon. This is not something that's going to be on a video course where you just have to watch it online. No, it's a live class so that you can actually ask me questions live as we're doing right now. So let's break this down. You're going to be getting over $19,000. If you purchase these things separately, it would be over $19,000, closer to $20,000 actually, worth of courses, of individual courses. But we're not going to charge you that at all, okay? We're going to discount that down by 70%. The standard price for the Elite Stock College course is $54.95, but we're going to discount that. This is our very first presentation for this, so we have an early bird special. We're going to discount it another $500 down to $49.95. But if that's still too difficult for you to come up with one lump sum, don't worry. We will also offer payment plans. So for a small deposit, for a very small fraction of the $49.95, you can still be up and running by establishing a payment plan with Pro Trader Strategies. Remember, this includes 1 year free platform. So this is a great, great offer. You're getting the platform. You're getting all this information, over $19,000 worth of information, and you're getting payment plans. And lastly, you're getting it taught by someone who actually uses these on a daily basis. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact my sister site, which is Pro Trader Strategies. They help me develop many of these courses. They're also in charge of the tech support, and they're also in charge of the pricing and discounts and the payment plans. I would highly recommend calling them directly if you're interested or if you have questions concerning pricing. You can call them right now at area code 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to take your order over the phone or just answer any question about a payment plan that you may have, give you a quote as to what it would take, and a small deposit. You can still be up and running, and you can be in our very first class for 2022. Now, the link you see at the very bottom has been posted on the chat box. So if you want to simply click on a live link, go to the chat box and click that on there, and it'll be just easily accessed through that, okay? I'm gonna leave this information up here. If you have any questions concerning what I went over or what's included in the course or anything about the course, now's the time to ask. Just go to your chat box, type it in, and I would be more than happy to answer. Someone's asking, when exactly will this happen? Will this take place? Most likely within the next couple of weeks. It all kind of depends on the response. Oftentimes, like I said, we don't usually give these colleges very often. And because we've had so many other features or different things happening, we haven't had one in a good 4 years. So I expect, because this is the very first time we've promoted it, I expect we're going to have a large large amount of people. So that will help us determine how many people we want to have in the class, and we'll have a cutoff point. We don't want to keep these classes the way we did in the beginning. When I first started teaching these courses, we took everybody, and I'd have a big, 60, 80 attendee course. And it was just too many people. It was just too many people to actually make it intimate and to ask the questions, and the actual time went on far too long because there was just so many people involved. So we want to keep them to a small, intimate amount. So we don't want to make them too big. So it'll all depend on this first promotion coming out. But we want to keep them to a very, personal level, so that we have, a nice class where it's not too many people and it's taking too much time to answer questions. Okay. Somebody's asking, what is the payment plan? Well, that's something you would have to discuss with Pro Trader Strategies. As I said, they actually put together all the payment plans, and they're in charge of that. So if you're interested in the payment plan, there's absolutely no obligation. Just call them, 310-598-6677. They'd be happy to answer your question. There's no obligation, once again, and you can, decide for yourself. But something, as I always say every week, don't sit on this, because, this is only for a limited time only, okay? Another question, how long are the sessions? Well, they're a minimum of an hour long, but most of the time they run anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. So I would roughly say on average an hour and a half, okay? They can be longer, they can be shorter, but roughly on average about an hour and a half long. And remember, they are live classes. So one of the best things about this, if you're not able to make the live class, everything is being recorded, and you can still watch it at your own leisure. So many times, there's 5 classes. Let's say you're only able to attend 2 of them because of other work restrictions or something. Well, then you can watch the other 3 on video. And they're yours to keep. There's not something that you'll never have. So there's lots of ways to learn. You can either be in the actual live class, or you can watch the videos. Someone's asking, what day of the week are they? Well, that's going to depend on the amount of people we have, and it's really up to you. Now, most of the time, we present these courses on a Friday. I remember the last time we did this 4 years ago, Friday seemed to be the best day of the week because that way we went over everything, and then you'd have the whole weekend to study and to kind of figure out for yourself how to apply the rules. So that works best. But if Mondays are better for you, if the weekends are better, it's all up to the participant. So that's really up to you. I'm flexible. I'd be willing to do it on a weekend, even a Sunday. I'd be willing to do it before the opening if you wanted to do that. It's really up to you. Okay. Good questions, though. Any further questions? Let me just scroll down and see if there are any further ones. I guess not. I think that's about it. Remember, this is the first course we have done in over 4 years. We have 2 new features we're going to be presenting that we've never presented before in the college. These are separate courses, and so we're going to be going over them. Also, we're going to be taking things to the next level, going into detail with some more insights and things we've learned in the past. So if you're really interested in taking your trading to the next level, come on board. At least call Pro Trader Strategies and find out how much a quote would cost you for a payment plan. I'm sure it wouldn't cost a lot at all. But as we take one last look at our disclaimer, I hope you learned something. I hope you saw how much we really want to take your trading to the next level. And lastly, I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the new Elite Stock College Trading course for 2022. Hope to see you in class. Have a great trading day. Bye-bye.